Hi everyone, this is Miss Gabby, and now this video today is going to be for any student that may struggle with the short E vowel sound or the long E vowel sound, or you could be just watching this video to get some good practice in. Now you may be wondering, what's the difference between the short E and the long E sound? Well, when we look at the word elephant, say that out loud and focus on that E sound, elephant. But when you sing your ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, E, that's the long E sound. So when you pronounce elephants, you hear you don't hear that long E sound. Two is where if we were to look at the word weak, E, you hear that long E in the word. And it's important to understand these two different sounds because it's what helps us pronounce words correctly. So if we were going to say elephant, but we use the long E sound, it's going to sound like elephant. It's kind of hard to say, so it doesn't make sense, but that's why it's good to understand why that sounds there and why it is different. And that way, when you look at words right away and you become good with recognizing different words when you read, you can understand how to pronounce it correctly if asked to speak aloud. Okay, and with that little review done on our short E and long E sounds, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a picture appear on the screen, and we're going to figure out what the word is associated with that picture, and then we're also going to sort it into the correct category. And if you have a printer handy, in the description is going to be a link to this activity where you could print out what we're working with today and follow along in the video. Now, if you don't have a printer either, that's okay. If you still click on that link, you could copy down the categories in a little chart here that I have on a sheet of paper along with the words that we're going to be working with. So that way you could also follow along too. However, if you choose to do neither of those options, I would just like you to interact with this video as we go through it today, and every time you see the word, just say it out loud. And then if you already know what category to put it in, just point your finger at the correct one, and then as we try to figure out where it goes, you could figure out if you're correct before I even said it. Alrighty, and with that, let's start with our first picture for the day. So, this first one we have here, just look at it. What do you think this might be? Well, it's something that you put around your waist. You might see your dad or your mom wear it to keep up their pants. So, what might this word be? Give yourself a moment. Feel free to click on the screen and pause the video and think about it for a moment. But what might this word be? Well, I think it is a belt. And pronounce that out loud and focus on that E sound. Belt. I don't hear E, I hear So where might we put this word? If you guess short E, you would be correct. And with that, how might we spell this word? Well, that's the B sound. That's that short E. Belt. L. And then t. Belt. Alright, and let's look at our next picture. Ooh, well, it's fall. So you might know the word to this already. It's something that you see on trees. Now, what might we call this object here? And if you guessed leaf, you would be correct. So, say it out loud. Leaf. Leaf. Is it a short E or a long E sound? And if you're having trouble, just focus on it. E. Leaf. So, that sounds like a long E sound to me. And this might be a little tricky to spell on your own, but I do encourage to just pause the video and try your best to spell it. Now this word's special, and it takes good spellers to know how to spell it correctly, but if you were pronouncing it and trying to connect to the correct letters to the sounds, you might have spelt it like L-E-E-F, or you might have just done L-E-F, but it actually has a vowel connection pattern to it. So the correct spelling of the word leaf is L-E-A-F. And it just takes good spellers to know that that E and A are associated together. But that is why we're practicing it here today, because as you follow along with this video, you're becoming a better speller with the practice that you're giving yourself here today. And even when this video is done, you could take the time at home and keep doing this by yourself and trying to spell the words. So whenever you see it in a book, or if you're reading it out loud to a class, you can instantly see how to pronounce this word and also how to spell it in your head. Okay, and let's move on to our next word here today. And it looks like we have a little bird and they're on something. And I believe if you look at the little context clues, let's move them over there, and it's pointing at an object. So it's not the bird, that's not the word we're looking at. It's going to be what the bird is on. And you might already know what it is. What does a bird normally lay in or sleep? It's kind of like their bed. It's what we call a nest. And let's do this a little backwards. How would you spell nest? Well, we hear that N, that N sound. So it starts with an N, and then we know it's probably going to be an E, and then S, and then T, nest. And with that, while you're pronouncing it, trying to spell it, we hear that sound. So where would you place this word? Well, if you're thinking that short E sound, you'll be correct. And we're just moving right along here. So our next word we're going to have is going to be this picture. And by looking at it, it looks like a vegetable to me. And it kind of has these little pods coming out, like little balls. Some of you might not even like this type of vegetable, but do you happen to know what the name is? Give yourself a second and think about that. Well, what it is peas. They're little peas in a pod. Alright, and let's think about how we might spell peas. Well, this one's also tricky like our word leaf. We know it starts with a P when we pronounce it, and then it's followed by that long E sound, so E. But it has kind of the same concept as in leaf. So it has that E, or I'm sorry, that A, and then S. Peas. Because you hear that little S sound at the end of the word. If you just see that E isolated by itself, you're probably pronouncing it with the short E sound. But when you see something attached to it, like in leaf and peas, you know to pronounce it with the long E sound. But it just takes practice, so I think we should look at another long E sound picture. And with that, let's look at this picture. And you probably already know what it is. It is a type of dairy product, and you might find it on a sandwich, or it might be in your favorite macaroni and cheese. Yep, cheese. And when we say it out loud, cheese, we hear that long E sound. And with this one, try to spell it the best if you can, but if we're using that same concept as before, you might think it's spelled like that, cheese, because that E is attached to something. But for this one, there's another little concept. Instead of always seeing a long E sound with an EA, you might also see it with two E's. So we have cheese, and you see it makes a little E train, so you know that it's going to be a long sound because you're pretty much pronouncing E twice and it blends together. So cheese. And for this next word, I'm actually going to spell it for you on the screen. And then if you're looking at the handout and you have it cut out, or if you already printed out these pictures, I want you just to find the correct picture that associates with the word. So the word we're going to be looking at is going to be, I'm trying to find a nice spot to put it. It's going to be B-E-D. Now pronounce that out loud. B-ed. Bed. Can you find the picture in your handout that associates with that word? And also think about it. Do I have bed in the correct category? Again, pronounce it out loud. B-ed. Kind of like the sound we hear in elephant. So we do have it in the right category, the short E sound. And let's look at what the picture might be. And if you guessed this picture, you would be correct. Because it looks like what you might have in your bedroom, a little bed to sleep on. Alright, and let's look at our next picture here. Well, it looks like an animal to me. You might have seen it in a TV or maybe read about it in a book. But we call this animal a seal. And pronounce that out loud again with me, seal. Well, I have it in the short E column. Do you think it's correct? Are we hearing that sound? I hope you said no. We're hearing that long E. Seal. So, it will go over here with leaf, peas, and cheese. And we're running a little out of room here. But for seal, since we know it starts with an S because we hear S, seal, and then we hear that E, and then what might be attached to it? Is it E-L or A-L? Seal. Well, if you guessed the spelling I have on my screen to be correct, you would be right. And it just, again, just takes good recognition to understand when we would be using EA or EE. All right, and let's move on to our last word here for the day. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with bed. So I am going to type the word on the screen, and then I would like you to examine that word, say it out loud, figure out the sound, and which category shall it go in, and then also try to find what picture it might be as well. And I hope you gave yourself enough time. And when we pronounce this, it's going to be h-n, hen. And we see that E by itself. So what kind of pattern do we have here where we'll know which category it goes in correctly? Well, we also, when we pronounce it, n, we hear that short E sound, not that long E, or it would have been ha-een, which that doesn't sound right to me. So it will go over here in our short E column. And also give yourself enough time to look up the picture for that. But if you've already found it while we were talking about the word, we have this little picture of this little guy, which is a hen. It's a female chicken. It lays eggs. And with that, boys and girls, we completed our word sort for the day, containing our short E and our long E vowel sounds. And you might have noticed on the screen I attached arrows to the word and the picture just because it got a little crowded here in our boxes. So if I were you, I would practice this at home, kind of mix up the little pictures that I have here, and then also maybe write down the words individually on a sheet of paper and cut them out in little boxes as well. So you could practice every now and then either doing it with the words or the pictures. And then if you do it with the pictures, try to challenge yourself and then spell the words every time you sort it into the correct category. And I hope you guys learned something new today. I appreciate you joining me here, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!